Oh, Jules, what does his future look like right now?
Well, first of all, I have to say he's an embarrassment. This is embarrassing. That press conference was embarrassing. That performance was embarrassing. His decisions were embarrassing, I thought. Last week he was telling us if this team has a future, it's thanks to me. Is that the future? Is the game against Granada the future? Is this what we're going to see? Gerard Piqué playing as a number 9 for the rest of the season? I don't want to see that. And I think Barcelona deserve better, much better than that. And you're right, they're in transition. At least transition with someone who has ideas, who can take this club, this team forward, even if he's with the kids. And I think Xavi is the perfect guy. Maybe he's not completely ready yet. It doesn't matter. He will get ready and he will learn. He will learn on the spot. He will learn on the job. But please, I don't want to see that ever again, because that was too bad. I think his days are counted if they're not over already. I think they already thought the week before, after the Bayern Munich defeat, which, by the way, could have been far heavier than the actual score was. They already thought back then to get rid of him. That Granada game convinced everybody else that he was not the right guy for the job, full stop. Now they will have to pay him off, of course. We're talking about 6 million euros, maybe a bit more. That's a lot of money for a club who doesn't have any money, but I think it's the right call to make. And then finding a replacement. And again, I think Xavi will be perfect for the job at this moment in time.
How is this Koeman's fault? Can you please tell me how this is Koeman's fault?
Well, why isn't it?
He's got a bag of bones to choose from.
He's
got a bag of bones to choose from. Against Granada. He's told you. They had. I've never seen a team pass the ball sideways so many times. And what do you think Granada's going to do? Of course they're going to sit tight and not let you go through the middle of them.
None of this is on Koeman.
Somebody on the field of play has to take a chance and try and play a little 1-2, or somebody has to move. You can't just turn around and say Ronald Koeman needs to go. I mean, Ronald Koeman, we don't... This is kind of the Arsenal talk. We keep thinking Arsenal of the Wenger era, where they were dominating everybody. Barcelona are where they are because the players they have aren't that good. And I don't care who is in charge of them, you're going to get exactly what you got for what, 60, 70 minutes before he stuck 2 big giraffes up front and kicked the ball long, because he had no other option, because he doesn't have anybody on the field with the imagination or maybe even the ability to create something when there's 10 men standing in front of you, in front of the goal. That's just the truth.
Jules.
I mean, Koeman is a bad manager. He's always been and will always be. And maybe the players are to blame. Of course, Stevie, you're right. And the talent is not the talent that they used to have, of course. But don't tell me that with that team, you can't do better than what we saw against Granada. And not just Granada, what we've seen this season. Okay, last season they was a little bit better when they went 3 at the back, and we gave him a bit of credit for that. He changed a few things. They played slightly better, but they bottled it at the second half of the season anyway. They had some horrible performances, and that was a team with Messi. Now they don't have Messi anymore. There's still nothing in the game. I mean, I look at De Jong. And I'm not talking about Luke de Jong, who should not be there in the first place. But Frankie de Jong, I'm looking at him, I'm thinking like, man, I feel for you. I really feel for you. What kind of team is this around you when you are such an amazing player? Memphis Depay is the same. The poor kid has to carry this team on his own because collectively there's nothing. Because Koeman has built nothing with his squad. I agree with you. This is not the best squad ever, but it's a squad that is much better than what we saw against Granada, where you had nothing in the game apart from crosses. 1,000 of them. Oh, good. They could cross the ball. But actually, how many of them were good? How many of them connected? I thought in the first half they had 38 crosses or 28 crosses. 5 of them landed. 5 out of 28. I mean, come on.
Right. So what manager's going to do any better? You've just annihilated the team, the players. So what manager is going to come in with a magic wand and get this team to play better? They are what they are. They're not good.
Should they get rid of Koeman, Ale?
Well, I think right now he's a dead man walking anyway. So if indeed, as a club, you recognize, look, Koeman is not the answer, and he's not going to be the answer now nor in the future, then I think you say to yourself, all right, you know what? This season is not going to work out anyway. So we might as well get a jump start on what the future of this club is going to be. And so you make the decision according to that. If Koeman is not plan of your future, then you get rid of him. and you take the losses as you do, and now you just kind of bank on making a decision that sets you up for the future and trust that this decision that you make is the correct one. But what cannot happen, and I think this is the part that I agree with Jules, is that this club cannot fall this far down the ladder. And I recognize that the players, again, there's a limited amount of talent out there in the field. But it has to be better than Granada. It has to be better than Granada at home to be sort of hanging on against Granada and hoping that just blind crosses into the box, and the giraffes that Steve is talking about get on the end of it. Man, it is a stark contrast to what we all think Barcelona is all about. And we all have come to appreciate what Barcelona does on the field because of the precise passing, the movement with the ball, without the ball, the ability to find passes between lines, those little through balls, those little gaps that they always find, the triangles. None of that is happening regardless of what players are out there on the field. Now, it's much easier when you have Xavi, when you have Iniesta, when you have Messi. Absolutely. But the identity of the club is no longer there. And so this was a desperate call by Koeman in saying, look, we're not going to get anything out of this game unless we do this. And if that's the reality of Barcelona, man, what a sad reality that is.
What chance have they got of getting an established manager?
Well,
You know, why would Roberto Martinez, for example, put his reputation on the line to take over a club that clearly is in a huge hole financially, and who on the field, we all talk about the potential of all these young players, but that's all it is. That's all it is. So is a Roberto Martinez going to take that job? And if you don't, then it's a huge gamble if you put Xavi in charge of that team.
Here's a question I would ask you, Stevie, and this is an honest question. Would you rather have a Barcelona team that does what they did against Granada in the last 20 minutes and grind your way through the season? Or would you just take your losses and say, you know what, this year is going to be a struggle, but we're going to stay true to who we are? And that's, I think, the decision that Barcelona has to make as a club.
Well, I think you've got to try and find the person who, A, can handle it, and B, who's going to who may take them forward. I don't think that's Xavi. It's too big a gamble.
Well, Jules, you said Xavi. Why would he want to take it now?
Because, one, because they need him. Two, because, like Ali said, this season could be written off. I mean, it's still very early, but there could be no pressure at the end. They will finish top 4. They might not win LaLiga, but they will finish top 4. And Xavi can come in and say, okay, what we've seen in the last 18 months was not what we're all about. This is what we do. We're going to do what we used to do, and young players can do it, and it might not work out straight away. It might be a bit more difficult to implement all that sort of DNA and all those methods and the methodology that Xavi has, which is the same as the great Barca, of course, with less talent on the pitch. But at least you'll have an idea, you'll have that DNA, the identity of your club back. And it might not work straight away, but at least you will try, and you will show much better stuff than what we saw against Granada and in other games this season. And those kids will learn. Tell me now, what is Pedri learning from Koeman? Nothing. What is Gavi learning? What is Yusuf Demir learning? Nothing at all. At least Xavi comes on and says, look, this is what we're going to do. This is how we play from the back. This is how we can do overload. This is how we can do triangles. Because Koeman doesn't do any of that. And I would rather take that gamble. And if I was Joan Laporta, I would take the gamble and say, you know what, there's no pressure. Go and teach them and try to build something than what we've seen so far.
Jules, as a young player, you learn more from the experienced guys around you on the field playing than you do from your coach or your manager. And somebody like Pedri, who's got other kids around him, how is that going to bring his game along? You know, the guys like Piqué, who are not capable of performing at that level anymore, how is that going to help Pedri? You know, Pedri going into Barcelona of 6 or 7 years ago would have been perfect. But right now, he's got the team on his shoulders for a start, and he's learning his trade. How's he going to get better when he's got a bunch of kids around him as well?
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.